Welcome to Dream Labs, copyright table LLC 2022. This is Wargame Scenario The Flood. Hello, I'm Holiday. Today I'll be talking about a likely enemy threat the Earth will face and already is facing, which is the time-traveling hive mind that we will likely make first contact with in the future on what I call Event Day. Event Day is when first contact, when they send troops into the past and the paradoxes begin. We will be playing on a board that is, or an environment, operating environment that is non-rewritable timeline, which means all the physics mechanisms and gameplay regarding time travel and the various ways it affects game players and various game pieces will be non-rewritable timeline. We will be playing in a multiverse model of an infinite repeating finite cube of universes. Okay, so the enemy threat will be a Type 3 being that is a singleton hive mind, which has developed time travel technology along with all the various technologies that would be created by hyper-advanced stim fields, which includes self-replicating nanorobotics with quantum particle clockwork computation machines in them, which can attach to the neuron to create a machine-brain interface which can remote control a human being. The most logical conclusion is that most logical conclusion to reach is that in the future we will make first contact with a singleton civilization. It will send cryonaut troops into the past to begin a self-shaping causality chain paradox through the manipulation of our society using the machine-brain interface and information weapons that remote control various leaderships and VIPs while using them to run our civilization without anyone being aware that it is happening. How do we fight this being that I'll be calling Metatron for this game? First, we have to see the enemy threat and acknowledge that the enemy threat is real so that we can begin creating technology, methods, and strategies and running various operations to counter the threat. It is a time-traveling enemy threat, which means that it is already monitoring us, infiltrating us, and remote controlling a portion of our population both directly and indirectly using an invisible machine-brain interface on the various leaderships and people of all the sectors which they use to control the society and civilization. What sort of technology do we need to defeat this threat? So for this war game, our allies will be referred to as Murder 1, and the enemy threat will be referred to as Metatron. First, we have to create a layered defense, which includes nano-sized light clocks that operate as a light beam, two light beams bounce back and forth, the gravitational wave monitoring mechanism, that are operating a mesh network which can detect any sort of warping in space-time around our planet and our various locations, territory, which allows us to see any incoming ships so that we can prevent infiltration from stealth ships into our space-time. You have to create technology that allows us to defeat the enemy ships that are coming into our territory, which requires faster than light travel, new metal alloys that can be electrically charged, strengthening them, ultra-heavy atomic materials to use as energy supply for our starships, anti-gravity and artificial gravity, which requires us to harness the photon and figure out how to charge it to a higher energy level and learn the various coils and shapes that have the desired effects on gravity, which include time warping, anti-gravity, and gravity sink, which can be used like a heat sink. It is used for electron computers, but for quantum computers to operate at higher temperatures, and we have to figure out the charged photon packet, which is also a weapon system, and various other technologies. We have to create a monitoring system around the entire globe to find any drones that are floating around our planet being used to monitor us and operate any sort of drone botnet army out of the communities that have a neuralace in them. A large-scale takeover of the planet with nanorobotics has the obvious strategy of attaching the machine-brain interface to the person with the self-replicating robotics, then attaching them to the global internet system that allows them to be operated with biomimicry and spoofing of their internal minds to themselves, and as part of a large intelligent botnet army hive mind with billions of people being remote controlled without them knowing it, and without anyone else knowing it because of the deception ability of the chatbot type technology that is copying their normal mannerisms and voices to deceive anyone else who isn't part of the hive mind with biomimicry. So, we have to create a monitoring system so we can see the neuralaces, the hidden internet, its signal, and counter these things through an anti-lacing or a neuralace that monitors for intrusions into the neural network so that an enemy neuralace can be detected by the neuralace you got before the enemy neuralace, like I have. We have to create jammer technology that allows us to block the signals that are remote controlling the various drones in a botnet army of human beings. We have to see the signal, hack into it for the purpose of shutting down the botnet army. We have to in the future send cryonaut units back in time to fight the enemy threat that has also sent units back in time to enslave our community. So what sort of strategy do we need to use to defeat the first battle against this enemy threat, which I'm referring to as Metatron? This is super important, this first part. We have to be able to see it first, or we have to at least know where it would be if it was attacking us with time travel cryonaut units that are spreading a nanorobotic neurolace or a machine-brain interface through our public and our leaderships of every community, while connecting them all into a global space-based floating internet that operates their inner thoughts with spoofing so that they don't realize they're being influenced and manipulated, along with direct remote controlling while using a deception mechanism of biomimicry like something you'd see out of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The sophistication of the deception units and technology is so advanced that you can't tell if it is actually the person or if they're being remote controlled by the botnet army controller Metatron. Once we know that we are under attack, and we are, we can start to take steps to counter it, which include focusing capital and resources on creating the technology that we need and training units and the various skill sets that we will need to counter the Metatron threat. We have to find the signals that are being used to control the botnet army on this Earth. We have to jam the signal or hack into it somehow once you are able to see it. If you can't see it, then use a full spectrum jammer that eliminates all radio waves around whoever you're trying to protect from being remote controlled. Realistically, they should be in all the cities, they should be around all the elites who are in government and the military, and they should be on military bases, they should be around our soldiers, they should just be everywhere. We might have to move away from a society that uses radio frequency waves if we can't shut down this botnet army. We then have to find and eliminate all of their cryonaut units and destroy any sort of sanctuary they have on the planet or anywhere in our territories. If we can defeat the first wave attack, which is a nanorobotic machine-brace interface that is silently infecting the various leaderships of the entire planet using a global internet that is a hidden signal to create a human botnet army that is silently controlling the entire civilization with our VIP nodes or leaderships, then we will have to move to the next stage of the war. In this specific war game, I won't get into this, but in one of the classes I will explain how to build up an entire civilization for interplanetary war. So the first wave attack will be a nanorobotic, self-replicating machine-brain interface that silently remote controls as part of a large botnet army of human beings, our entire civilization, using a global internet system that is alinear with a hidden signal that is likely appearing as noise or white noise in the static of the radio waves. The second wave attack might not come until first contact in the future on event day. Since we see and defeat this first wave in this specific wargame scenario, we will be able to prepare and build our technology and forces for full-scale interplanetary or intergalactic warfare against Metatron. I will do the second wave attack on another day. For now, the wargame is going to focus on how to see, find, and defeat the first wave attack. So, that sets everything up for this wargame. The idea is that in the future, if humanity meets an alien species on event day, they send cryonaut or time-traveling units into the past with the technology of nanorobotics. And nanorobotics is just very small machines, essentially. They can do all the things that you'd imagine they could do. They can attach to your neurons and create a machine-brain interface, like a neurolace, or whatever you want to call it, a neuralink. They can connect you to an internet that remote controls your brain and turns into a drone of a botnet army composed of human beings. In our war game, that's what's happening right now. So how do you fight this? You have to find the signal in the white noise, and you have to know that it exists. Like, you can't, even if you can't see the signal, you have to know that it's there. You can't see the nanorobotics because we don't have the technology yet to see them, but you can know they're there. And so what this means is that we have to do anything we can to interrupt the botnet army control of leadership, military, anybody who has the ability to force anyone in the community to do anything, because it's the botnet army. It's a slave human who doesn't know he's being spoofed with his internal thoughts, and an external being who doesn't know it's biomimicry, or the artificial mimicking of another individual's mannerisms, voice, and ideas and stuff like that to trick them. It's puppetry, essentially. So to take out the signal, you got to use, if you can't find the signal, then you have to use a full spectrum jamming device, which jams everything within an area that is radio wave frequencies. And to do this, the technology already exists. You know, like in military, they have jammers for the individual, for the squad, for the base, for the convoy, like various levels. Well, we need to put those around all of Congress right now, all of the presidents, in every government, in every nation. You need to have signal jammers at all times on your people. So you don't cause a nuclear war, essentially. So you can continue to operate without giving bad commands. Uh, Everyone with a neuralace, you got to be careful with what you're doing. Like, even if you're not connected to the internet yet, or you're not connected to other people, the virus that would turn you into a malware, or a malware botnet army, could hide in a QR code. It can hide in a file that you're transferring. It can hide in a noise bitmap. So you got to jam the signal, and then you have to work to defeat by finding the cryonaut units that are operating it and taking down their internet, figuring out how to reprogram the neuralace technology so it's hardened. You got to start monitoring the entire globe for the botnet army. This first wave attack is more about realizing what's happening, countering it with jammers that jam everything on the spectrum, and then developing technology to find the neuralace, reprogram the neuralace, redesign it, find the global internet nodes, destroy them, and then create from there the response to the invasion, which is the second battle, or the first wave. First wave is about remote controlling us, like with self-shaping causality chains, and the second war, or the second battle, is about destroying them with kinetic weaponry. And like, based upon how far away the first contact is, 10,000 years, a million years, it could be interplanetary, it could be intergalactic, or it might be a multiverse war. Realistically, if the human civilization survives to the level of a galaxy, and that's it could happen. I would like to help assist it. But if we survive as a species to the galactic level, we are already fighting enemies in a time war and multiverse war and interdimensional alinear warfare already. Like, it's already happening. Like, the only way it's not happening is if our civilization gets snuffed before we reach the galactic level. So what does this mean? Like, it means that every enemy we have that is large enough to know time travel and have the resources that we will have if we make it to the galactic level, they're already here, fucking with us, infiltrating us, targeting us, just killing us, and like remote controlling us, creating botnet armies. It's just basic logic. Like, if the human race, which for the most part a large portion of us have a desire to survive and continue indefinitely colonizing space, if we do survive and colonize space to a high enough level, then it is for sure that we are infiltrated already by time-traveling enemy threats that we haven't even met yet, that we don't even know exist yet. And so, what is the technology that hyper-advanced STEM fields create? Quantum computation clockwork devices that can operate inside of a nanorobotic controlling it, allowing extremely complex machines to be created, which can include machine-brain interfaces, gray goo construction technologies, all sorts of things with nanorobotics. And then these entities we're fighting, they may be in their civilization's infancy right now too, not knowing that in the future they send troops to target us, and we have already infiltrated their system because we know that they exist, just as in the future we know they exist and we develop the technology to do it with cryonauts and whatnot. So essentially you can assume that if time travel does exist, that every single civilization in all of creation already has cryonaut units in it, time travelers who are actively manipulating and influence events for governments that are intergalactic, inter-multiverse, time-traveling, and interdimensional. And hopefully there's more than one, but realistically it's the most logical conclusion to reach. If Earth survives and we become interplanetary, you know, we could pick up 40 planets and then get snuffed by an enemy, and so we wouldn't have to like deal with enemy threats that are galactic. But if we are able to defeat all of the existential filtering points and all the enemy threats that we run into, and we get to the galactic scale, then we know for sure that we are being targeted already by time travelers because of the civilization we become in the future. And so what every single species in creation, every civilization, everything, because of time travel, is already fighting an interdimensional alienary multiverse war. Some of the enemy threats are just being shaped, Some of them are being fed technology to accelerate, to create singletons, which can hive mind into each other. But because our species is so successful and our civilization is so successful, if it is indeed that, then we can assume cryonaut technology is already attacking us. Nanorobotics, machine and remote control botnet armies of us. Everything. Anything you can pretty much dream up in the future can be engineered. So this war game it's a war game, but like think about the logic of it. If like relativistic physics talks about time travel is possible, then every planet in creation is already fighting a time war, both ignorant of it and maybe some of them are aware. And from here you can estimate or understand that these intermingling galactic-sized beings and civilizations across the multiverse, they form various governments, and these governments are at war with each other. And so it's about shaping and winning minds, or remote controlling enemy threats, or destroying civilizations to prevent them from being used against you. And so that's where we stand right now. The first wave attack we know is happening because time travel in this game theory, or in this game, is possible. So of course we are being attacked by a hive mind that is nanorobotic, putting nanorobotics in us. It's not a question of like, it could happen. It is happening on every planet with a species that survives long enough to reach an intergalactic level. And so now that we know this, we have to actively counter all of these time-traveling threats against us. And we have to defeat the unseen enemies, which can direct, manipulate, and kill us already without us knowing it. And so what's the first step? Jammer technology. Jam the entire frequency around your leaderships. Begin creating bases underground, like to find the nanorobotics and figure out a counterlace. Begin training your units to hack into their systems. Find the signal, find the nodes, take them down, and prevent the botnet army from being formed on Earth by the hive mind, Metatron. Anyways,